examples. These are just some of the things that we've been able to pick up from across, schools, organizations, and individuals, and then we've all collated here today. So just to give you guys an idea so that you can then take them on and develop them further.
So just to get started, as a quick icebreaker, we're going to ask you, what is diversity to you? I know for me, it's something that is really important so that I can ensure that the people that I'm in contact with every single day, as both head girl, but also as a friend, a sister, to ensure that they are happy, that they are comfortable around me, they feel respected, and that's really important for me.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Neha said. I think for me, it means something slightly bit more different. I think diversity means about learning about other people, different backgrounds, different cultures, different understandings. Because knowledge is the one thing that, once you have it, no one can take it away from you. And that's one thing my mom always likes to tell me. I think the more you can learn about different people, different groups of people, it's just going to better you as a person and help you to be a more well-rounded individual.
So we will be keeping people to time, and for those of you who are presenting today, so we'll just send you a quick 30-second warning before we continue.
Yeah. Again, just want to encourage you to use the chat. As Anita kindly said at the beginning, she'll be monitoring the chat today for us. So please feel free, if you do enjoy something, put a little reaction up for us because we will see it. Put, some of your things that you do like in the chat as well.
And towards the end of the symposium, we will be asking you to comment on something that you have drawn from today's symposium, something that you are going to commit to doing and encourage the people around you to do, whether that's in your schools, within your businesses, within your community. And we will ask you also in a couple months' time to show us how that's going, what you've been up to and how that's impacted you.
Yes, so before we get into it, just wanted to say Eid Mubarak to our Muslim community, and then from there, we'll get straight into our first one.
So our first speaker is Linda Bartlett from MK Council. She is the manager at the EMA network, and she has been working with Seiki Youth. So I will pass over to Linda.
Thank you very much, Neha. I have to start by saying that I was so really genuinely delighted when the chief executive asked me to give the opening remarks for this, because I can see here many people that we've worked with over the years, and I know what real commitment there is in Milton Keynes to celebrating diversity and making sure that all of our children and young people feel included. So I felt like it was a real privilege to be asked to open this today. So thank you very much, and well done to the young people at 5 Dimensions for pushing this forward. It's excellent. So you've already said that I manage the Ethnic Minority Achievement Network. Also, I've been involved with the Youth Sacre, and what I'm really motivated by is how much young people in Milton Keynes are promoting diversity and feel that it really matters. And young people are our future. And it's so important. I think about my children. My children are in their early 20s now. They went through Milton Keynes schools and they have an absolute passion for promoting diversity. So thank you very much for that. And I thought it was really important that I quickly contextualized the context in Milton Keynes, because now we've just come up to 50% of our pupils in our schools are from Black and minority Asian and minority ethnic backgrounds. So that's significant. But what's even more significant and exciting is the fact that it's super diverse. So we know that we have more than 150 languages spoken in Milton Keynes schools. That's phenomenal. And so what that does is it brings a huge richness to our borough. And so we have to celebrate that and make sure that everybody from that massive diversity feels that they can contribute and feel included. My memory goes a long way back. I started working in ethnic minority achievement in Milton Keynes in 1994, so it's an awfully long while ago, and I have seen the growth of communities and that diversity blossom, and so it's extremely exciting, and it's been very privileged. So as a council, if I'm speaking as the council, we are completely and utterly committed to equality and supporting our diverse community. My team has just published then we'll send it out to you, a couple of documents called Equality and Diversity in Milton Keynes. It's an update. We've had it for many, many years. And it will enable all of our stakeholders to learn more about our diverse communities, be they faith or be they minority groups or ethnic groups or whatever. So it's really important, and we will make sure that it's circulated out to you. And as a mark of how important it is, on Friday across the council, it's coming out loud and clear as being extremely important. And thank you very much for putting that up for me, Neha, or whoever did. That's really, really kind of you to do that. So I'm not pretending as I speak, I'm not going to pretend that there aren't challenges. We know that there is racism. We know that in Milton Keynes, there's been a growth in the far right. And that's sort of insidious. It goes through a lot of the activities that are carried out locally. But I totally believe that if we work together and we support each other, we can continue to promote diversity. And for my part, I will make sure, working with my team, that we continue to promote diversity in the curriculum so that all of our young people feel that their backgrounds, their experiences are included in that curriculum. So I'm hopeful. What I would like to draw to a close with is inviting any of you to join us on the 24th of June, when we will be holding a virtual conference called Diversity in Schools. Sorry about that. That's come through my computer by accident. The phone's off. We'll be organising a conference on the 24th of June, and we've got Benny Cara speaking, who's a national author around diversity in schools. So do join us. It will be a really positive event, and we want to keep that debate going that you're starting today so that we can continue to promote diversity across the whole borough. So thank you guys. Well done. You've done a great job, and we're really proud of you.
Thank you very much, Linda. That was, again, brilliant. I think I really like the idea of, being super diverse. I think you mentioned that at the very beginning. I've really, taken something from that. So moving swiftly onwards to our next presenter, we have someone from our own trust, the 5 Dimensions. We have some students from the Hazley Academy. We have Trinity and Juja. We're going to be talking about the curriculum change across geography and history, amongst other subjects. One thing as well that we want to mention, that this is a completely student-led group. So we'll hand over to Trinity and Juja.
Hi, I'm Amy. Trinity and Judah couldn't be here today because they have a lot on their plate at the moment. So me, Ollie and Valentina are going to be speaking on their behalf. And we are, as you said, 3 members of the Equality Group from the Hazley Academy. And we're going to talk to you about how we have diversified our curriculum.
At the moment, this has been focused on our humanities department.
So we study mostly English, British history, and obviously there's constraints on like what we can teach in schools because of exam boards, that sort of thing. But the history department have started giving context to the information, showing the influence of different European ideals on British history rather than just showing British influence on our history, if that makes sense.
So for one of the examples is showing the different European ideals in the Tudor module. And this has helped students develop a wider understanding of issues and to learn this through a lesser English lens.
Understanding how, this has also helped in understanding how the world was shaped by like UK's history.
And students sort of understand how things like representation and political ideologies have changed over time, which is something that wasn't really taught before, but now it's being more introduced.
And the other subject that we've managed to diversify the curriculum in is geography. And so we're teaching geography from different perspectives in the world within a wider context.
This has also explored more detail about different cultures and impacts of colonization. This is something that was really like rarely addressed. So it's good these things are being discussed now.
We're sort of expanding geography over multiple continents, not just focusing on Europe, but focusing on continents that aren't usually studied as much and looking at geography from their perspective, not from a British perspective, so getting students to understand that.
And teachers have also began talking about current world issues and more points for discussion with students. So these changes will begin to happen within Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 5.
Okay, thank you so much. Is that everything?
Yeah, that's everything.
Thank you. I really like the idea of diversifying the curriculum from a younger age. I think the more young people know and the more knowledgeable they are, the more they can do with that information and the bigger impact they can have on the world. So thank you so much for doing that and sharing that with us. We're now going to pass over to Amanda Mulcher, who is a trustee at the Cowper and Newton Museum in Olney, and she's also going to be presenting alongside Ashley McIntosh. So I will pass it on to them.
I'm just going to share my screen. Is everybody okay with that? Brilliant. Ashley sends her apologies. She wasn't able to get out of her learning to join us today, but she's done a little film for us that we'll use as a conclusion to this part here. So thank you very much for inviting us at the Cooper and Newton Museum to this symposium. Many people don't know that Amazing Grace was actually written in Olney, and that in 2022, 2023, it will be 250 years since that hymn was shared with the people of Olney and then went out around the world. Over the past couple of years, the museum has been working with partners to put together a program, an education program, to look at the themes that come within Amazing Grace itself. And let me just see if it's going to move. Has that moved okay for everybody? Fantastic. So John, the Reverend John Newton at the time, here he is writing his sermon. There's notes there on his right. He did wish to be able to speak off the cuff, as they say, but he found he needed to practice hard and do his homework first and wrote everything down in his notebook. And then he was able to speak afterwards. So from his sermon, he then often wrote a hymn to accompany what he was saying. And the hymn that we know today as Amazing Grace, he wrote to accompany that sermon, and it was called Faith Review and Expectation at the time. Talking to our partners, the Open University, the St. Peter St. Paul, his church, to the African and the Caribbean communities in Milton Keynes and the stables itself, we looked at what would be the themes for a partner programme. We've got this idea that Amazing Grace was written in Olney, but is sung around the world. And through the author of the hymn, John Newton itself, it's got a history and meaning rooted in Africa, England, America, and the Caribbean. And the hymn Amazing Grace is known worldwide and means so many different things to so many different people. So those are the themes that we'll be going through AG 250, and we've got a couple. I'm going to share a couple more of those with you just in a minute. But for about 2 years now, we have been working with the Royal Holloway University of London on their free education resources on their Citizens Project. There we are here, the Cooper Newton Museum, and they came to us first about the role of John and William Cooper Newton in the abolition movement. But we raised that John actually was an active member, participant in the slave trade, both in the land-based slave trade and in the sea trade. So how do you put together those two ideas of a man of faith, as he came to be, writing a hymn, well known as like Amazing Grace, but somebody who was in the slave trade, even if he then saw the error of his ways later on and became an ardent abolitionist. So here we have a set of free resources that the Royal Holloway have already put out for people, and there's going to be 3 more on their way very soon. Now, if you want to get hold of those, if you haven't seen those already, and the vast, many other resources that the citizens have put together, you can either go to the museum's learning page where you can find the link, or go to the citizens link there. But the 3 new films, explainer videos that are on the way, are Who Profited from the Slave Trade, what was this transatlantic slave trade and who were the abolitionists. And it's using John Newton's resources, the things that he wrote himself, but also ensuring that the enslaved voices are heard within those films. Let's pop down to the next one. Here we go. A key part of developing those 3 new films was making sure that the script and the images that we used were reviewed by the African and the Caribbean communities in Milton Keynes. And there were substantial changes made to the scripts because of that. Also, through the Arts and Heritage Alliance, we were introduced to Museum And, who are just two very dynamic, two dynamic ladies for the National Caribbean Heritage Museum. And they looked at the images that were being used to make sure that they portrayed without stereotypes, which is so important when you are using more cartoon-based images. And from Milton Keynes itself, we were able to recruit Ashley, who lives in Milton Keynes, went to school in Milton Keynes and is back in Milton Keynes now after her degree, to present those. And as I say, she's going to say a little bit at the end. Just going to mention a couple of the hopefully that will be part of the programme for AG 250. We hope to be working with the MK African community to put on an arts and culture exhibition at the Cooper and Newton Museum based on Sierra Leone. And there you can see it's based on the map from 1764 of the area where John Newton was working within the slave trade. We're also hoping to get a grant from Arts Council England, working with the stables, to commission a new orchestral and choir arrangement based on the themes, today's themes within Amazing Grace, and that would be by Roderick Williams. And premiered in Milton Keynes and in Olney by the Chineke Orchestra or Ensemble, linking it in with the Music Hub, hopefully with an education programme then going into schools from not just the Music Hub, but also from the Chineke Orchestra themselves. We're very aware that those materials tend to be Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4 and above. So at the moment, we're also looking at other sources, other resources, other ideas to develop materials for Key Stage 1 and lower Key Stage 2. And what we have already, the Alina Orchestra, not long ago, a couple of weeks ago, performed Amazing Grace, where verses had been translated and sung, not just in English, but Arabic and Hebrew as well. I always pop the next book in because I don't think we should underestimate the wonderfulness of that book. It's been around for a few years, but I know many people still have it on their bookcases. And another new resource, if you want to look inside John Newton's church, there's a virtual exhibition, a virtual journey that you can go through from that link just there. So coming to the end, just like to have Ashley say why she felt the programme and the resources are beneficial to school and what her experiences have been learning in Milton Keynes.
The first time I was exposed to Black British history at secondary school level was transformative. I, the new girl and now the first and only Black student in Year 8, sat as my white peers lightheartedly reenacted the moments when the Africans were taken as slaves. Later, the class was asked to recite their I Have a Dream speech. It was said as homework a few weeks prior. In that moment, everybody instantly stared at me. There was this heavy expectation for me to stand up and make a speech, despite it only being my second day and I hadn't even been around when the homework was set. I'm Black. This is Black history, so it's your responsibility to speak. So go on, speak. This was a transformative experience for me as it sparked a curiosity in how we educate and build empathy in people, but especially children, regarding race. It interested me so much so that 9 years later, race education would become the focus of my university dissertation. So, upon graduation, when the opportunity to be a part of these educational films arose, I just jumped at the chance. I thoroughly enjoyed being a part of a collaborative team that strove for sensitivity and inclusivity within their content. My advice: when using this resource within schools, I'd recommend the following. Firstly, highlight the abolitionists shown in the video. Secondly, let your students choose one to research in further depth. Thirdly, let the student swap the abolitionist that they researched with another student whose abolitionist is of a differing race, gender, or class. This will help foster the idea that tackling racism is everybody's responsibility. Later, you can mind map the different activism strategies shown in the films, and using these strategies as a springboard, discuss how the students can tackle racism in society or even within their own school.
Thank you. So if there's any resources that you would like, anything you would like us to develop, please do get back to us at the Cooper Newton Museum. We really would like to be able to get these messages out there, these resources out there for the schools in Milton Keynes and of course wider beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And again, very, very informative. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I think the work that you've been doing with the Royal Holloway and all those other organizations is going to be a really powerful resource to everyone here, as much as everyone else who's not here as well. So that has been very, very informative. Please just bear in mind that keep an eye on the chat. We will be giving you time reminders via a direct message. So please keep an eye out for that pop-up. But moving again swiftly onwards to our next person presenting, we're going to have our first primary school. We've got Price Hall School who are going to be displaying some of the videos where they got teachers got students in pairs to discuss faith and diversity. So we'll hand over and let those videos play.
Today we spoke to our class members about different religions. It's very important to spread awareness about different religions and to respect that. This is important to know other religions and respect their beliefs, and to not discriminate other people's belief if their religion is not ours.
Great conversations again. Could you please swap seats?
So I'm a Muslim, and I learned that you have to be, you don't have to, but when you're at the age of 12, you can fast, and then when it's like 8-ish or when the sun sets, you can have a big dinner. And then we pray 5 times a day, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha.
I'm a Christian, and I don't really pray a lot. I used to go to church, but don't anymore because I'm a busy person. But when I was younger, we used to pray before we ate and before we went to bed. And when I used to live in Wales, my parents used to do a Bible study. So I learned that you don't have to go to church, you don't have to pray, and that you can pray any time of the day, whenever you want. I pray on Fridays before I go to bed.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. We're going to do one more switch, and at the end of this next switch, I'd like you to be able to tell me at least one thing that you've learned during this session. So, move to the next seat.
I'm a Christian, and I heard that Basically, if you believe in God, then a wish will come true, and if you you don't need to pray to be a Christian or a Catholic.
I'm Christian as well. I don't pray. I used to go to church, but you don't need to go to church to be a Christian. And the thing about the wish thing that you said, it can be true. Some people believe it and some people don't.
Thank you. Is there anybody in here that would like to share anything that they have learnt about a faith or a religion? If you are talking about somebody, please do not use their names. Please just say, I learnt that somebody does this or does that. Let's be respectful of everybody. Eden, what did you learn?
I know that Christians don't need to go to church to be a Christian.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Zion, what did you learn?
I learned that my friend is an atheist and that he doesn't believe in God.
Okay, thank you.
About speed faith and to respect others' religions.
Today we spoke to other people in our class to learn about their religions, and that we want to make sure that we learn about to not discriminate other people's religions.
And one more thing, then, what else did we learn today? Imogen, what did you learn?
I learned that Muslims, after they're 12, they have to eat a really big meal at midnight and not be able to eat until 8:30.
Fantastic. So just because somebody of some religion does a practice like that, so like Imogen said about eating a meal, does that mean that every single person in that religion does the same thing?
No.
So it's really important to understand that although you might have learned how somebody shows their religion and their faith, not everybody in that religion might do the same thing. So it's always different practices.
That was really nice. I think everyone will agree. It was really touching to see such young people talking about diversity in such a positive way. I'm now going to pass on to Tara Sheldon, who is a producer working with public programming for children and young people at MK Gallery. She's been working with a group called Art Riot, who are a group of young people between the ages of 14 and 18 years old from all around Milton Keynes. So Tara, would you like to start presenting?
Hello everybody, thanks for that introduction. That was really great, actually, kind of clears up a lot. I'm just starting to share my screen. Just a moment, it's not allowing me to find the right document. I'll just basically introduce what we're talking about today, which is actually a collaborative process that took part in last year, which was hard to do because of lockdowns, as you can imagine. So can everybody see my PowerPoint? Fabulous. Okay, so Art Riot, well done, that is our name. We took part in a workshop that was organised by Big Shop Friday, and it represented their Elephant Room project, and we worked with an artist called Dylan Fox. The reason why I've chosen this picture here, because early intervention saves lives, and I'm just seeing, you know, today this discussion and it being led by young people, it really is inspiring that actually you are intervening early in your lives and making choices to make diversity important for everyone. So congratulations to all the young people taking part today. So this is Art Riot. We used to be called The Secret Selfie. Please feel free to find out more about us at The Secret Selfie Project on Instagram. We meet at the gallery and we work with our associate artists on workshops that allow us to talk about different themes in our lives, increase our confidence, increase our self-belief as well. So that's the main purpose of our work. This is Big Shop Friday. If you've ever been to the shopping centre and noticed on the corner of the car park opposite John Lewis, this little area, that's Big Shop Friday. They're an arts space and organisation. I highly recommend actually checking out their website, which is bigshopfriday.co.uk. They are frequently involved in discussions around diversity and have a commitment to ensure that people feel safe and are represented. So the Elephant Room is actually an ongoing project. The there are different phases to the elephant room, and the phase that I'll be talking about today is working with Dylan Fox. There are 3 other areas that they'll be looking at. They'll be looking at, so Dylan Fox represents the gender aspect, but they'll also be looking at race, disability and sexual orientation as well. So those are conversations that are coming up, but the project is to make sure that people see art representing themselves, and they're not always just exposed to art that doesn't represent themselves, and especially for young people, I think that's really important. So Dylan Fox is a transgendered artist and activist working in England and across the world today. His work often shines a light on media representation. As you can see from here, he's actually taken a piece of media and then omnichromed over the top with a message. So he uses a lot of slogan work to highlight the way that we use casual language, and that in our casual language and the choices that we make about how we speak about people can actually be insensitive as well. So, you know, opening up a discussion about the way that we speak to each other in the community, is that correct, and is it helpful for people? So as a summary of the actual exhibition, so part 1 of the day, we met at the gallery as a group. Dylan took us around the exhibition at Big Shop Friday and talked about what it meant. Again, I've taken 2 of the pictures here very clearly. There's no reformation without representation, and today's diversity talk, it's just so true. If we're not representing everybody, who are we producing things for? And also that gender doesn't define our behaviour. You know, we need to be open to discussions and accept that actually we're all just human. Second part, Dylan actually talked about his work. This piece here, we must end this cis-normative madness, opening up that conversation about the cis-normative world for younger people. Then moved on to a discussion where Dylan invited young people to talk about his work and his life as a transgendered male. So just giving young people an opportunity. And then we went on to omnichroming our work in a very safe way. So this is a testimonial from the group on that day, and I just wanted to point out that the reason why we were given this opportunity is because one of the staff at Big Shop Friday had worked with Art Riot and knew that we had transgendered members of our participation. So that's a summary of that. If you've got any questions, please feel free, and also if you have any questions about projects like this at MK Gallery, please email learning@mkgallery.org and I'll be more than happy to help.
Thank you very much, Tara. Again, very, very informative. I think I really enjoyed the part where I said that if you're not representing everybody, then who are we representing? I think it's very blunt, but it makes a very bold statement, you know, and it's very, very true. Before we move on to our next sort of speaker, I just wanted to mention that at the end of today's event, we're going to be hearing some poems from some of our competition winners from today. So if you do want to hang around until the very end, and we'll be having, I think Nia can agree with me here, these poems are awesome. I think you really do want to be sticking around for that. But moving on very swiftly into our next sort of speaker, we've got one of our secondary schools in St. Paul's who are going to be talking to us about a diversity in the curriculum with a focus on film studies and a diversity within extracurricular projects. And I think the overarching theme is they're also going to speak about something they've titled the Halo Project. So I'll hand over to Liz, who I've just seen pop up there.
I have. Thank you very much, and thank you for such a wonderful afternoon. I'm really enjoying listening to so many ideas. I need to share a video with you, if that's okay, because we have put together a short video where some of our pupils are talking about diversity at St. Paul's. So if I can just share.
Behind every purple shield and gold sword stands a kaleidoscopic community. Here at St. Paul's, there is culture cross-stitched to uniform.
At the end of the day, from your single point of view, you only know so much about other people's backgrounds and cultures and their thoughts within diversity. So I feel like in terms of understanding it, it allows you to see things from a different perspective. So it's not just your background, it's somebody else's background. And then it allows you to relate to that person. It allows you to understand the fact that it's not simply you going through these things, these difficult times, or even good times as well. It allows you to come together as a community. And yeah, it all ties together very well.
Diversity is you. Diversity is me. Diversity is us all coming together just to be. Diversity is the reason why we started poetry. See, the apple isn't too far from the tree. So we stand on the shoulders of forefathers. Fighting rights, or through what we write, we applaud after. You don't have to be smooth with a mic or incure laughter, but just true, free, unapologetically the best version of yourself that you hold dear. Try to never walk around with a closed ear. A cry for help might just reflect known fear. Your acts of love help diversity to grow here. So bring the anomalies you're sitting on, the pages that 3 verses have been written on. We are St. Paul's, diverse is a word. One love is the hymn sheet that we're singing from. The next couple of minutes are going to be a collection of students from St. Paul's who are sharing with you how their experiences in this diverse community has helped them to grow into the mature young people that you see in front of you today. I hope you enjoy.
Right, so when it comes to diversity within the school, especially in film studies specifically, we're researching different films, and one specifically, a personal favorite of mine is Do the Right Thing, and it's basically a story about inequality and how it can have a bad effect, it can lead to violence, and in terms of different, you look at the point of views of different nationalities and ethnicities, and how you can't have one without the other. You look at the point of views of the African American community, the Asian community, the Italian community, and how, sometimes you just need to have one without the other. You need one to back the other. And yeah, we linked it as well to even life now and discuss situations of whether that has changed within, especially this school, St. Paul's, because it's quite a large school and it has many different ethnicities within the school. So yeah, we've linked it, and how, again, you can't have one without the other. You've got different cultures, people with different backgrounds, given their unique abilities within the school to obviously make it as good as it is now.
So I like the fact that they provide a lot of accessibility to a wide range of students, including students with disabilities. Yeah, I really like that. So I've been involved in the poetry club, and that is, you get to learn a lot about that. You get to explore different people's perspectives and see what they really feel.
People of colour have always been pressured by society to manipulate their natural hair texture to fit in.
46% of parents say their children's school policy penalised Afro hair.
58% of black students experience name calling or get asked uncomfortable questions about their hair at school. This makes them feel like they don't fit in and they have to change their hairstyles to do so.
1 in 4 black adults had a negative experience at school in relation to their hair texture. The Halo Project helps us to accept diversity.
Hair is a gift, and many people don't realise this until it's too late. Many people do not know how to take care of their hair, since there are not that many social influencers out there with the same hair as them. St. Paul's Catholic School has joined this organisation and other individuals to help create a future without hair discrimination.
Diverse. Some communities don't even understand this word. Everyone wears the same shirt. Nobody says a word. Haven't you heard of new faces in big religious places? Churches, mosques and synagogues for Allah, Hashem and the Son of God. A community with real care for the old, young, walking in a wheelchair. We are all together merging, the neurotypical and divergent. To quote grandson, there's no difference between you and I. We both share the same sunshine from the same sky. We may face defeat and adversity, but we will not be defeated with diversity. This day and age, we are closer than we've ever been. All races, identities, personalities, sexualities being seen. We can be who we want to. We can build and grow, have so much to show. There's always more to learn and know. We hold this dear even though news only covers tragedy and brutality to make stereotypes look like reality and violence and normality. But I know my community will stand with me, shouting no justice, no peace, protest in the streets. A simple thing to state, hashtag stop Asian hate. I know I can put my trust in MK.
As long as you keep your head to the sky, be optimistic.
Thank you very much, Liz, and the students from St. Paul's. I think Nia literally just said to me, just wow. And I think that's the one word to use to describe that. That was brilliant. I think that poem at the end was, if you could catch, the speed he was going, but it was very, very informative. Some of the lyrics that were being used were incredible.
Amazing. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce our next speaker, who is Jade Cook from the Spectrum Community Arts. Spectrum have been providing art workshops for those with disabilities and additional needs across Milton Keynes and Central Bedfordshire, as well as providing weekly clubs and bespoke sessions for schools and other organisations as a non-profit. So I'm going to pass over to Jade to let you know what she's been up to.
Thank you so much. That was a lovely introduction. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Jade, and I set up Spectrum Community Arts 4.5 years ago, providing, exactly as Nihar just said, providing sessions for neurodiverse communities who can't access sessions, mainstream sessions and kind of your stage coaches and things. So I do have a series of clubs and sessions, dance, sensory sessions, performing arts, arts and crafts and music, alongside bespoke sessions that I can do for charities, different community groups and schools. I was so excited and honoured to be asked to come along to this and speak today, but given a 5-minute time limit, so I'm going to do my best to talk about what I can share about making things inclusive for your neurodiverse students within your schools and settings. So I've chosen a couple of bits to go into, and I'm going to just scratch the surface, but the first thing I wanted to talk about was visuals, because this for me is the thing that I will always put in and use. So I'm just trying to put the chat so I can see when my message comes up. So I will always use visuals in all of my sessions, and I use them in lots of different ways. So visuals are great because there's no language barrier. A picture tells 1,000 words, and as you can see, I've got some different examples up here. So the kind of the stick men here with this carnival visual timetable, they're actually official Makaton symbols, which are great for those who are Makaton users, and also support those who don't use Makaton. And then these are ones that I've created myself, and as you can see, they're pictures I've taken of the actual props that I'll bring in sessions, which for some people this is much better and supports them more. Now, when I go into sessions, this typically is the type of visual timetable that I'll use, because they're all beautifully Velcroed on. So the students who struggle with anxiety, with not knowing what's coming up next, or they're not very good with transitioning, this is fantastic, and they'll be the pupils that I'll encourage to come and take. So say, for example, we've just done the warm-up has finished, I'll encourage them to take that visual off, and then I'll ask them, what's next? And they can show me, they can point to it. Sometimes they rip off their favorite one and come running up to me to kind of show me, we want this one or their favorite one, or if they need a drink or the toy or a toilet. So yeah, visual timetables are so useful and beneficial, and not only to structure kind of what's in my session, but also to structure set tasks, so you can break tasks down into them. And the great thing about a visual timetable, and if you have that up for a whole class to see, is that that's going to be there. The moment I've spoken a word, that's it, it's disappeared. If you didn't catch it, you've missed it. If you were too busy processing what I've already said, you've now missed this bit. Whereas if I've got a supporting visual timetable up next to me or behind me or on the wall or somewhere to be referred to, you can always go back without feeling like, oh, I'm going to have to be that person that asks Jade again, what are we doing next? I've done this. And that supports everybody, right? We've all been guilty of that. So that's visual timetables, and I think something that could really benefit I know would benefit everyone in the space, not just our neurodiverse students. And then also you can see here I've got visuals that I'll use as game aids. Now, I worked in a mainstream lower school for a period of time, and I was given a mix, and I was given a set of twins who were selective mutes. They were new to the school, they were in year 2, and the Senko said to me, Jade, we've not heard them speak. We're putting them in your class, we're not sure if they're even going to engage. And so everything I did had visuals, and it was all very much choices. What do you want us to act like now? Do you want us to be a monkey or a lion? And simply by pointing, suddenly they were in charge. Suddenly they were important. Suddenly they were in control of what we were doing, making the whole class run around as monkeys or whatever it was, without using their words. And 4 weeks in, they started to use their words, and 6 weeks in, the Senko was in tears in the office at me saying, I cannot believe how quickly we've turned these twins around. They're talking to all members of staff now in the school, which is absolutely amazing. So visuals are a huge thing that will support everybody, not just your neurodiverse students. The other thing I wanted to slip in really quickly alongside visuals is props. They're great, there's something tangible to kind of ground, to feel supported, really helps your anxious students, as well as secretly being providing sensory stimulation and regulation without it becoming the next fidget spinner fad. I know I don't need to say any more than that to teachers, but that will, props. I know it's easy for me to crowbar props into story performing arts, but I challenge you, how can you do that in your lessons? Really quickly, I also wanted to say that the biggest thing that I say to mainstream teachers and Senkos is that I point them in the direction of training, awareness training around autism, all of the different neurodiversities. And the big thing I talk about hugely is SPD, which is sensory processing disorder. I would really love for you to take that away. Have a look at Sensory Spectacle. She has a website full of free resources and training about supporting those with SPD within your classrooms. Chances are, if you have someone who is on the autistic spectrum, they have SPD. There's also an amazing video, Amazing Things Happen. It's a great video, animated, explaining to young people what autism is, which is a great point. It's a great thing to talk about, and I think something that should be talked about within mainstream settings from the beginning, when when children are young. So thank you so much. That was literally me. Getting as much in as I could. So thank you so much. I am on Instagram and Facebook. I've seen a message about seeing what we do. We also have a YouTube channel. So any questions, please do get in touch, and I can do bespoke sessions for your schools too. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Thank you so much, Jade. That was amazing.
So moving on to our next sort of speaker, we've got another primary school. We've got Chestnuts Primary School, and they're going to be talking to us about the hearing impaired community. So we'll hand over to Chestnuts to deliver their presentation.
So I'm not sure whether the colleague from Chestnuts is actually still in the meeting, but I'm going to just flick through their slides. I'm going to let you read what they've presented here, and then there's a little short video at the end. So they've been doing some work on deaf awareness. Just give a chance for anybody from Chestnuts to unmute themselves.
Hi Jez, it's Kim. Rachel,
Hi, Kim.
Rachel from Chestnuts should be here, but I'm happy to read out if you'd like me to.
Just talk a little bit about what they've been doing there, Kim. That'd be great.
Yeah, no, Chestnuts has a weekly assembly where they sign and sing, and it's all about the inclusivity for all pupils, including those with hearing impairment. And they really have it as a whole school approach. So they have sign-in for all pupils, so that it's just part of every pupil being fully included. They have a number of things. They have after-school clubs, they have enrichment sessions, and they do charity work, they use dogs. And as I say, I've myself observed one of their assemblies, which I will confess brought me to tears, with seeing the whole of the school singing and all of them signing their songs, and that's what they do as a routine. They also have a real promotion through their curriculum, including PSHE of the teaching sessions, exploring the deafness and ensuring that all children understand the need to adjust their approach, so that it's just part of the whole school inclusivity for them. Need to, you know, the strategies, speak clearly, face on, without direct light behind them, and where possible they use sign language, and many of the pupils there can actually use sign language. And I think there's a little clip that will be hopefully played from your end.
If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh.
Thank you very much for that, Kim and Chestnuts Primary School. We're now going to pass on to some students from our school at Shenley Brook End. We've been working with Alison, David and Natalia, and they're going to present some of the things that they have been doing as part of their Diversity Matters group. So I will pass it over to them.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Shenley Brook End School's Diversity Matters Symposium. Today we celebrate great equality and diversity, acknowledging across the school and across the world, views with many different cultures. At Shenley Brook End School, we value and celebrate diversity. Here is a poster which we are planning to display soon across the school, including what is okay and not okay when it comes to diversity. Diversity Week is a time for us to share our similarities and celebrate our differences, because in diversity there is beauty and there is strength. Respecting everybody's cultures and traditions and acknowledging everybody's rights is very important in life. It's wonderful to see how different cultures and traditions operate across the world, and allows us to see beauty and strength among humans. For example, here is a definition of diversity, which one of our students has made. Now here is some well-made creative pieces of artwork based around the topic of diversity.
Next is a showcase of different foods that the students cooked at home during lockdown. American-style KFC chicken, Chinese-style dishes, Italian-style dishes, Middle Eastern dishes, and finally, desserts inspired by all around the world. And here is the pledge which one of our students made. We are like a box of crayons, each of us unique, but when we get together, the picture is complete. Black History Month takes place every year in October. In our most recent Black History Month celebration, we gathered together lots of amazing work made by the students. Pieces per week were artwork, food from West African countries, songs from different countries, and poems and inspirational role models. Here is some more amazing artwork from the students. And food from the West African countries.
Next, we have a showcase of songs from different countries. Bob Marley, Three Little Birds. BTS, Dynamite. Blackpink, How You Like That. And Luis Fonsi, Despacito featuring Daddy Yankee. Inspirational role models. This is Chadwick Boseman, who was an American actor and playwright who achieved international fame for playing Black Panther, aka T'Challa, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe from 2016 to 2019. He also played big roles in many different other films and won many awards as a result of them. He was and still is an inspirational role model to the Black community and all around the world for being one of the first African Americans to play a great role in film industry. Now here's a powerful poem to think about on how you should treat others. International Women's Day. International Women's Day, which is celebrated every year on March 8th, is a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women. Here is a short poem made by one of the students on our most recent International Women's Day. Thank you for watching and listening.
That was very, very, very good again. I think coming from Shani, I think I'm really proud that that's come from some Shani students. I really like and I said, there really is beauty and strength in diversity. And I really think that does hold true. There is, a unique beauty and strength within diversity. Moving on, now you're going to have to hear, us speak a little bit longer. Neha and myself, as head boy and head girl here at Shenley, we've also been working on our own projects to do with diversity. And I'll let Neha intro that and then we'll get started.
So coming in as head boy and head girl, as well as being two people of colour, making an impact in diversity was something that was really important to us. It was something that we really wanted to leave a lasting legacy on. And so we created a restorative behaviour policy within our behaviour system at school. And we've had great success with this behaviour policy that we're just about to take you through. It's gone through our school governors and they were really happy with it. And it's in the process of being implemented within our school. So you can draw inspiration from this, you can look at the examples that we use and hopefully see if you can implement it within your places of work as well.
So going straight into the system itself.
So the system that we created consisted of 5 tiers, which have been made to include a wide variety of situations that people within our community may encounter.
Yeah, so the focus of this proposed behavior system was on education within restorative behavior rather than the sanction element. We felt that a lot of systems and, sort of things were focused too heavily on the sanction element, and they didn't focus on re-educating certain individuals as to what certain things were wrong and how to, move past that as well.
And the word restorative has so many different meanings, but at Shenley, we aimed to be restorative in a way that whoever was making a certain mistake can then reflect from it and learn from it as well. And we hoped that would make Shenley an even better place.
Yeah, so with the actual system itself, investigations would have been conducted as and when incidents were to occur. This would then involve the person being involved, the people involved being spoken to. And one thing we wanted to reiterate is that regardless of the tier that we've, sort of created, a full investigation would have been conducted regardless.
And regardless of the tier and how serious the incident was, it was really important for us at the time that was given as the sanction was spent with a teacher who was focused on helping the individual to understand why what they did was wrong. The education aspect was a really important part for us.
I think this system is something that we wanted students to be able to fall back on and, to have something behind it that they know is going to, as there to protect them as well. So moving into the tier system itself, we want to start off with our tier 1, which we have labeled here actually as a warning/first offense tier. This resulted in a loss of break time, where that break time would be used to be restorative. They'd have those conversations with members of staff as well. Examples of behaviors within this tier are as follows. So referring to or commenting on people's genders, general terms and phrases that are said to another student or staff member with no malicious intent.
Going on to tier 2, this was the minor/repeat offence tier. And examples of behaviours within this tier was the use of discriminatory slurs when not targeted at an individual, regardless of their race, religion, sexual preference or orientation, sex, gender and disability. This being amongst friendship groups, between friends and classmates.
Yeah, so moving then into our 3rd tier, which we then labelled our concerning/repeat offence tier. This would then be an after-school detention, or what we have here in Shenley as known as extended days. In this instance, the individual's parents and carers would be called by their year leader or progress leader, and then they will then communicate with their parents, so there's transparency between the school and the home. Examples of behaviours in this tier as follows. You've got the use of more extreme discriminatory slurs when targeted at an individual, again, regardless of their race, religion, sexual preference, orientation, gender, disability, etc. And this is regardless of whether or not they are friends.
And it's important to mention before I go on to the next tier that these are just examples of certain behaviours that can go into each tier. There are a wide variety of things that can also fit into them. We're just giving you some examples so you know the rough idea of what each tier means. So going on to tier 4, which is the serious/repeat offence tier, which resulted in an X1 at our school and a Saturday detention or exclusion. So at this stage, the individual would be called in to have a meeting with their parents and a progress or year leader. And examples of behaviours within this tier would be deliberately targeted verbal abuse or threats at individuals or groups, or confronting and harassing someone because of something about them.
Yes. So again, before we move into our last tier, I know I remember when we spoke to our head teacher, Mr. Holmwood, he said that, this year we've had a lot about tiers, and I think we're all fed up, but this is the final one. This is our tier 5, and this is our extreme/repeat offence tier. And this would result in exclusion and or expulsion with potential police involvement. I think earlier it was mentioned about, far right views, how that's getting a bit more extreme. And, when we're looking at diversity, we've got to look at both sides of the spectrum. We know there's a lot of good things that happen, but then we've also got to look at, the more negative side of things. So in the very extreme case that this does happen, the student would be expelled or excluded for their actions, with parents having meetings with senior members of staff. And like I said earlier, this with potential police involvement. Examples include removal of religious clothing from other students or members of staff, shouting or exclaiming extremist phrases or chants in an effort to cause panic, or physically assaulting another student because of race, religion, sexual preference, orientation, gender, disability, etc.
And just to finish off, we wanted to do this because, like Benji said, it gave our students something to fall back on, a safety net around them to make sure that they are protected, that they're being looked after, and that all forms of diversity are being looked after. So that's our little bit done.
That's our bit done. So I think now, thank you very much for listening to us ramble on. I think we've spoken long enough. So we're going to hand over to Mr. Anwar Kasim, who is actually a governor at Shenley Brook End School, and we've got a little video that we're going to play from him, and it's going to talk about digital life.
Past 11 here on The Big Debate. Casa Alam here. I want to know, have you heard of Bletchley Park? It's most famous as the home of the secret coders that cracked something called the Enigma code to find out what the Germans were saying during World War II. And to do it, they used maths. But now a new exhibition is there called Digital Light, and it's going to celebrate the use of maths in Islamic art as well. The project's run by Milton Keynes Islamic Art and Culture, and I'm joined by the founder now, Anwar Kasim, alongside Zara, who's a student who also worked on the project as well. Really good to have you both here. Thank you very much. Anwar, tell us a little bit about this project then, first of all.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much for having us on the radio show. This project came along having a conversation with the director of the Bletchley Park, seeing how the maths and Islamic art have some parallel, and Islamic art is the basic full of maths, whether it's calligraphy, geometry, arabesque, garden design. It starts from mathematics. And Alan Turing used the same principle of one of the scholars who discovered mathematics and algebra. So there was a correlation between young people in art, creating art patterns, learning pure math and mathematics at Shenley Brook End School.
Just hold on there a moment, Anwar. Okay. You're talking about Alan Turing there, who was, of course, the mathematician and one of the people who was, one of the main people to crack the Enigma code there as well. So just to give people a little bit of context there. Did you know that there was a link between Islamic art and maths?
Not beforehand.
No.
After taking my role in this workshop, I learnt so much more. I didn't know there was so much geometry and stuff that was involved.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about how we can see it all then? I mean, is it something that Islamic artists actually purposely used maths to create the art, or is it something that afterwards was seen?
I would say it was purposely used because Islamic art is mostly based on nature. And when you look around at nature, there is a lot of maths that you may not notice. Like there is geometry, there are patterns within different flowers that you may not notice unless you look in detail.
So tell us then, Zara, how you got involved then. What have you found interesting?
So this project was introduced to me through my school. And I thought it was such a good thing to get into, you know, as a Muslim myself and someone who loves art. I thought it was just perfect, and I really enjoyed how it really tied together the concept of digital art along with the history of Bletchley Park and the maths.
Tell me a little bit about this installation then that's going to be at Bletchley Park. What have you been working on, and how's it going to look?
So we've been working on our own individual patterns. So we physically made these. So we sketched them out and then we painted over them in colour. But these are going to be transformed through coding into digital art, and then they're going to be projected as light onto the Bletchley Park mansion.
So thank you very much for that, Anwar. We're now going to go over to Wood Newton Academy, who are going to be talking about their approach to diversity.
I am not a stranger to the dark.
Here is a short presentation from Wood Newton, a learning community, around some of the work we do with diversity and equality. At At Wood Newton, a learning community, we don't see teaching children about diversity and equality as part of just a standalone lesson. Learning that each of us are unique and celebrating this is something that is woven into the fabric of our community. We are proud to have won the Hate Crime Awareness Competition for Corby twice. This award is presented to the school that understands and educates children around hate crime and the impact it has on communities. At Wood Newton, as part of our commitment to diversity and equality, we work with Northampton Police to develop workshops around hate crime. These workshops have now been rolled out across Corby and Kettering and have been successful for a number of years. Regarding our work around diversity and equality, we have been used by Northamptonshire Police on 2 occasions to launch the National Hate Crime Awareness Week. Children from our setting have been chosen to speak in front of professionals from across many agencies around the topic of equality and diversity, and we are immensely proud of them. The basis for our work in diversity and equality begins with looking at gender stereotyping. Even within our 2-year-old provision, we work with our children and families to investigate and understand the impact of gender stereotyping. This is built upon within every year group throughout our academy. One of our Year 6 pupils, who spoke with external professionals at a conference, said, "Only by looking at what makes us the same and at the same time focusing on celebrating our differences will you ever make an impact on our lives. Our differences are what should be exciting you all, not our sameness." The resources we use to look at diversity and equality are We are currently working with our Year 2 children using the book Be Who You Are to help them explore who they are and their uniqueness as individuals.
These are some of the books that help us learn diversity in our school.
This is some of the work the children in the school have been doing.
This is some of the work that the children have been doing in our school.
This is some of the work other year groups have been doing.
This is some of the work our school's been doing. This is some of the work that our school's been doing.
So we agree with this book because it says you can be who you are and you can do what you want to do. On the last page, we really agree with the last page because it doesn't matter what colour you are, where you are from, or who's in your family. Everyone needs to be loved. Always love yourself and be who you are.
This book teaches me it don't matter if you're born a boy or a girl, you're both unique.
This book is about gender identity. No matter whether you're a boy or a girl, you can still do things that are opposite genders. Even though you have different skin colours and different looks, you can always be yourself. This book tells us that if you always be yourself, you'll be all right. This book teaches us it's okay to be yourself and it's okay to be different.
This family teaches me that this book teaches me that all families are different, but they're all unique.
These are displays from our school. This is me.
From everyone at Wood Newton, thank you for watching our short presentation around some of the work we do for diversity and equality.
Thank you very much to Wood Newton. That was again another wonderful presentation. I think that message of being yourself, and I think I really like that sort of statement in the little shield at the beginning. It said laundry should be the only thing separated by color. I think it put a smile on my face, and I think it will put a smile on yours as well. Before we move on to our next one, we just wanted to remind you about our pledges that we mentioned at the very beginning. Please do start to ponder about some of the things that you yourself would like to take away from today and sort of develop and grow into your own idea. So now moving on to someone who's had a massive sort of impact on today's running. She's been involved from the get-go, getting people involved, and somebody who's been a massive part of today. So I want to hand over to Elizabeth, who's from Make, and I think that's all the introduction she needs, really.
Thank you very much, Benji. That was a lovely introduction. I'm delighted to be here today, and I was delighted to be part of this event. So MAKE is the Cultural Education Partnership for Milton Keynes, and we promote cultural education for all children. We try to help arts and heritage organisations collaborate with schools, and all the arts and heritage organisations that you've heard from today are part of MAKE, which we're really proud of. And you can see that the reason that we do that we think cultural education is important isn't because we want a town full of artists, but it's because we believe that cultural education can help you achieve the aims of diversity, the overall principles of diversity. Cultural education is proved to build personal growth and a sense of self. It's also proved to help the development of the imagination and others in the community. It can drive skills for innovation across industries by nurturing creative thinkers. So as you move out of school, you can become better at your job. It can also facilitate upward social mobility, which we know a lot of people struggle with if they're from a lower socioeconomic backgrounds. And also it can improve well-being and mental health and interaction between communities. So these are the reasons why we promote cultural education. And you can see even from Wood Newton's presentation that they use theatre and film, they use books, they use all sorts of artistic materials and pathways to promote the messages of diversity and to enable their children to understand why diversity and inclusion is important. So one of our projects that we're involved in at the moment, I'm just going to share this. Oh, I can't share that. It's okay, I'll just talk about it. But it's called the Big Make. The Big Make is a celebration for children and young people in Milton Keynes, and it's a chance for everybody to get involved in creative activity. We're running it between May and July of this year. And all schools and children and young people are invited to take part. I'll put the link to the website in the chat. It's free for schools and children and community groups to take part, but we're also working with a diverse committee of young people aged 14 to 16. And they've been helping us make decisions and shape what this year's Big Make is all about, because we want the voices of young people at the forefront of what we're doing, helping us to make decisions, understanding what's important for young people, but also understanding how we can be as inclusive as possible and shape our offer so that it is diverse and it is inclusive. It's also free for teachers to become a part of the Make network. And we have quarterly meetings, and we have also different sort of offshoots of teachers groups that you're all very welcome to join. So if you want any more information, please do email me. I'll put all of that information in the chat, and that's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. We're now going to pass on to Arv Koshal, who's from MK College, and he's going to be talking about the lessons learned from positive action initiatives and how they are creating a golden thread through MK College of good practice and behaviours. So Arv, I'll pass that on to you.
Thank you. What a brilliant event. I've loved the presentations, I've got to say, and you two are doing a fantastic job. Might have to hire you in the future, I think. I joined Milton Keynes College right in the middle of a lockdown in January of this year. But prior to that, for the previous 13 years, I worked in secondary education. I taught maths, and that I like the piece on the Islamic art part, because I actually taught that from a drawing perspective in terms of how mathematics and Islamic art go hand in hand. So I've been working within secondary school sector, and the last 3 years were in Luton, and I developed some programs to do with how do we improve our representation within our leadership structures within our schools. Just going with that statement which you will have heard, you can't be what you can't see. And for our students to aspire to all these roles and positions that they could work towards, if they couldn't see themselves in those positions, it makes it very difficult for them to actually see themselves doing those roles. So it's actually, how do we tackle that? And what I quickly realized was that the structures within our schools sometimes don't allow our staff to flourish as much as they should do. So it's actually working with our schools and our school leaders and thinking, you know, what can we do to positively encourage people to flourish within our schools, so that people like yourself, Benji, and like you, Neha, people like you could be our future school leaders. You know, why aren't we seeing that, and how can we make sure that that is more the case in the future if you choose that to be the path that you take? So it's looking at that. And since I've been at Milton Keynes College, and there I work actually within what would be traditionally called human resources, HR, we call it people services. I'm taking this from a workforce point of view. So the people that work within the college, how do we make sure that they do more of the right things so that our learners can flourish within the college? And there's 3 key aspects that I've been working on. So one is the workforce, which is probably about 80% of my work. And then the rest of my work is with the communities that we sit within and that we are part of. And that's the FE sector, the education sector, but also Milton Keynes, but also our learners. So those 3 aspects is that how do we bring them closer together so that we can actually all benefit from all the things that are good about our education that we provide in our schools and colleges. And so that the last presentation, or the one before Elizabeth, where they talked about in that school, about weaving it into the fabric, we call it the golden thread. It weaves through everything, and that's what we're working towards. We are not policy driven. Every school has an equality policy of some description, and you've got to question whether it's made a difference or not. So it's actually not the policy that changes things. It's not the practice. It's actually the way that people think and the way they behave and the way they talk to each other, the way they support each other, the way they develop each other, the way they encourage each other. They're the things that really make a difference. And that's the big culture piece that we're doing at MK College is that how can we make sure that anybody that walks in through our door, whether they're a learner, whether they're somebody who works for us, or whether it's somebody who is doing work for us, can do the best they can, no matter who they are. Is creating those positive environments. And the work that we're doing is looking at each part of our organization to make sure that happens. Now, there's some key things that we're already doing. So we have an active, what we call a fan network, and all of you are encouraged, this is learners as well as educators and businesses, that we're trying to have a collaborative approach towards creating better outcomes for our students. And they are our critical friends. And then we've got the most recent thing, which is going to be launched next week, which is our inclusive language guide. Now, words are so powerful. The way we write, the way we speak, and the way we communicate is so important. So making sure that we've got a reference point to what is more inclusive language, so that people don't feel that they're being excluded from any communication that we have, whether it's oral or whether it's written. And from that point of view, that's something that we'll be sending out and sharing out to the community. So they're just some of the things, but I think it's really a case of how do we get leadership changed so that we can actually have a different way that we approach our work, in a different way, not doing more work, but just working in a different way. So that's the piece of work that we're doing in Milton Keynes College at the moment.
Thank you very much, Alv. Again, very informative. I think that sort of element of leadership, something that we've even spoken here at Shenley. We've been fortunate enough to work with some of the leadership here, and they're amazing. You know, hearing what we have to say and implementing that. I think it's good to see the work that, you know, this is work that's happening in primary schools, secondary schools, colleges. It's happening absolutely everywhere. And that's beautiful to see that, you know, every type of organization is, you know, contributing to diversity in some way or form. Next up, we have somebody who is behind this entire thing. Somebody who's been working tirelessly day and night trying to get this whole event sorted, and somebody who, you know, has been at Shenley for a very long time. He left for a period of time, come back. We're going to hand over to Mr. Bennett, who, again, like I said, is the mastermind behind it.
Thanks, Benji. Thanks, and thanks everybody for staying with us till 5:30. We've got about 5 minutes left. If I can encourage you just to hang on for a few minutes, because we're going to hear the 2 poetry competition winners in just a moment after I've finished just a few words to you. But thanks so much for joining in, and I hope you agree with me that there's been masses and masses of really good ideas. Particularly Arv at the end there, just we want to turn that focus away perhaps from what we do in the curriculum in our schools to what we do in our workforce and on our leadership teams. And in the Leadership and Training Centre 5 Dimensions, which I lead, we're really interested in how our workforce can be more representative of our community, particularly how our leadership can be more representative of our community. And I've been running a project that I've been involved with before as well, with Anita Devi from Team ADL. So thank you, Anita, for sort of handling the chat this evening. Anita has also sponsored a book which we have drawn a winner out for, and you might be pleased to know, I don't know if you're still here, but Trifina Foster from the Arts Centre, you have won the book, which is called They Did It First, 50 Scientists, Artists and Mathematicians Who Changed the World. I'm sure you will find some use for that, but thank you, Anita, for donating that. We just wanted to flag up with you an opportunity for your leaders in your schools, or people who are potential leaders, perhaps from diverse backgrounds of any type of diversity. And that's a program that we're going to be running at the Leadership and Training Centre in September. And here is literally a 1-minute video just to show that to you. So if you have colleagues who might be interested in developing their leadership skills and being part of this new program, new interactive course that Anita and I will be leading in September, I've just put a link in the chat to a Microsoft Forms. If you click on the link, you can send us your details and your contact details. If you think that might be appropriate for a colleague or for yourself, please come and join us. It'd be great to see you. Benji.
Okay, thank you very much. We're now going to move on to the pledge part of our symposium. So as I said before, everyone, please put in something that you have taken away from today and plan to also implement within your community, whether that's your school, your workplace, or just your community as a whole. And in a couple months' time, we will follow up with you and find out how you've been getting on, how that's impacted your community, and how successful it was within improving diversity within Milton Keynes.
It's also important to mention that, as Neil said earlier during this program as well, that some of these pledges will go up on our website that will be hosted by Make. So the organization that Elizabeth is working with, some of these pledges will go up there as well. I think whilst we're all doing that, and I know we've got Anita monitoring the chat for us, please do put your pledges in the chat. You know, 1 or 2 things that you've really felt that really struck you today and that you want to take away and develop. We're going to move on to, you know, the part that I've really been looking forward to all of this afternoon, and it's the poetry winners, essentially. I think our first one, we have our Key Stage 3 student who won. She's a Shenley student here, and we have a Utima Assis, sorry if I said your name wrong, from Shenley Broken, who's going to deliver her poem.
How is it that? How is it that people judge other people because of their color of their skin when we are all the same? How is it that people can't go to public places without being body shamed? How is it that men and boys can't express their feelings without being told to be a man? How is it that people can't practice their religion without being abused? How is it that the people who we are supposed to trust are the people who some fear? How is it that nobody is doing anything but the evidence is very clear? How is it that the people who are supposed to stop racism are contributing to it? How is it that people are still being sexist? How is it that people can't declare their sexuality without the fear of being insulted? How is it that people's voices are not being heard? How is it that we are all human and yet people are being treated differently? How is it that?
Thank you so much, Utima. I really enjoyed that poem. I was very lucky alongside Benji to be part of the process of picking the winners. And when I first read your poem, I was amazed at how talented you are, but as well as at how much it made me think about everything that's happening beyond your poem, beyond the questions that you were asking behind your poem as well. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, so definitely a thought-engaging, poem. I think it definitely, like Nihal said, it sort of questions, some of the things that you think about. Like, you want to think past what some of the words mean, and it's a very powerful poem. So well done to you. So we then move on to our next poem, which is our overall winner. She's a Year 13 student from St. Paul's. Her name is Maureen, and she is who won our overall poem, and she's gonna display that for us now.
Behind every purple shield and gold sword stands a kaleidoscopic community. Here at St. Paul's, there is culture cross-stitched to the uniform. At this school, the student voice has an accent. Every mother tongue is echoed in the corridors, so it feels like I've sailed the 7 seas before period 3 and still feel like home in every other country. You see, at the end of each rainbow of passports lies a history class learning about the Gold Coast, and students with family histories that go most places where the curriculum won't. I've been adopted by a motherland which is not my own, and that is to say that at St. Paul's, we are a family of polka-dotted people with pick and mix cultures piecing together our identity. So what good is a family tree when you can have a forest of intertwined roots, a customizable coat of arms held together by colorful hands? This purple shield and gold sword is my crest, and this school is my home away from home. The only place where this Nigerian girl with an Irish tongue could ever write such a poem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much to Maureen. I absolutely loved that as well. As soon as I saw her video of her first performing it, I was absolutely astonished about how well she presented her poem, how well she delivered it, and the lines that she wrote were absolutely beautiful. And I completely agree with Anita. My favorite line was "sailed the 7 seas before period 3." I think that was absolutely astonishing.
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed it as well. I mean, I was just sort of sat here, sort of just gently nodding my head as I sort of enjoyed and, sort of digested the words that were coming at me, because it's just incredible to see that, we've gone from Utima's poem, it was beautiful in its own right, to, another style of poem, which is also exceedingly amazing. I think I really enjoyed sort of the line about pick and mix cultures. I think this world is becoming more and more diverse as time goes by, and that sort of reference to, that sort of, you can pick and choose, there's loads of different cultures, backgrounds, ethnicities, and it all just comes together to make one beautiful thing. We've come to the end of our program for this afternoon. Thank you so much for all attending. Thank you to all the people that have presented today. I think I've learned so much today, especially adding on from a very long school day. I think I've got a lot to go and reflect on when I go home. So it's been wonderful, and thank you all for attending.
And also, thank you so much to Mr. Bennett for allowing us to be a part of this. It's been so amazing to see all the work that goes into events like this behind the scenes, as well as being at the forefront of it and hosting. And also, thank you for your kind words in the chat as well. We really appreciate them, and they mean a lot to us.
Thank you very much. And that is the end of our meeting today. So feel free to, hang around, have a chat if you would like. But that is the end of our program for today. Thank you all for attending. Please do look in the chat. We have links to the website that is going to be hosted by Make, which is Elizabeth's organization, with some of the resources from today, so you can go back and sort of reflect on that, pull that for your organizations and your groups, and then go and develop on that. And please do remember those pledges. You've made that pledge. Let's see what comes of fruit from those pledges.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.